Yes, ma'am. I think our task today is to talk a little bit about renaming of the Bull Street property.
No, the
I think
Bull Street
Henry's
Park.
with us. I'm
That's the
sorry.
park.
What did I say? It's the Bull Street property. That's a park, right?
It's just the park, not the property.
Yeah. Okay. Henry, you wanna help us get through some of this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm
All
gonna
right.
I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen for you. All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Of course, Ms. Wilson, our city manager, Councilman McDowell, Councilman Duval, Councilman Davis. Thank you all for giving us an opportunity to share where we are with the Bull Street Park. I would especially like to thank Gregory Tucker, who's on the call as well, our special projects coordinator. Gregory has been instrumental in facilitating the construction of this project for the last several years to get us to this point. And we're very grateful for Gregory's expertise, and he's going to help us with walking through this presentation. Mainly what I want to do is to really give you some background on where we are with the actual park. And then we can go into some discussion in terms of the naming of the park itself. So the slide that I'm about to show you is really a brief video. It's about 60 seconds to kind of give you an idea of the scope of a 20 acre park. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful park, and it's going to be wonderful for our citizens to really enjoy. So let's go into that video. As you can see, there's a lot of work that has actually been done at the park, and you'll see in the later photos a more updated version of where we are. This is some of the early video of the park itself. And Gregory is going to take us through here in just a moment the significance of the daylighting of the stream and the pond that's here. So I wanted you all to see a video to really give you some context on how long or how big this park is and the magnitude of it as well. So some of the things that we're doing currently, the park is not actually active, but there is a walking path, as you see, around the pond. We do have a dog park. There are 2 shelters that are already located at the facility. And I really want Gregory now to kind of talk about the significance of the daylighting of the stream, to kind of give you an indication of where we are in terms of the scale of what's being done around the country. So Gregory, you want to talk specifically about that for me?
Very much. Thank you, Henry. And please, I would like to give credit to the Hughes Development. They did a phenomenal job of course, they spearheaded the design and the construction of this, but just phenomenal patience to wade through the bureaucracy of daylighting a stream. It was hard to believe how hard that actually is to do, but it was about a 3-year process to get all of the permits necessary to daylight this stream. And so to give a little background, the stream that you see sort of on the left-hand side right there, that ultimately went through the park, but right about that location, it entered into 2 84-inch storm drain lines and basically was concealed underground all the way through to Colonial Drive at there. So the process of that and daylighting with the permitting with the Corps and everybody, but they took it to one step further, not just daylighting the stream, but actually a full stream restoration project. So they brought in very, very intelligent stream restoration experts to design the necessary mapping of the stream, as well as design types of plantings and in the bank itself. And it's just really intriguing to watch the process of the size of the stones at the bottom of the creek are very important based on just the velocity of the water flowing through and all to do this. But it will be a lengthy process. It's like a 20-year process from the stream to get up to what I'll call a mature stream and functioning like it should. But it really is a centerpiece of the park, goes all the way down through. For those who aren't familiar, this is actually the start of Smith Branch. It begins the Smith Branch watershed going down through there. So it's very important. But they also took the next step of the 84-inch pipes remain in the ground out there. And we basically have a diversion structure, which is up in the top of your screen there. The 84-inch pipes now remain as floodwater storage. So the system is designed to where under normal circumstances, the stream flows. But when we get heavy rains, it actually overflows a weir at this location, and it goes in, and the 84-inch storm drain lines act as water storage. So we've proven it through the calculations and the studies. It improves the flooding conditions downstream in Smith Branch. So not only is this a beautiful and gracious thing to do of daylighting the stream, this stream is actually affecting many miles down the stream to help ease flooding down in those areas. The pond that you see in the picture there is actually stormwater pond for a portion of the Bull Street site itself. The two are connected, but not so much as you think. It looks like a tire floating in the pond there. That's actually an outlet structure that takes water over to the 84-inch lines. But the pond itself was designed to maintain a certain water level in it, but it has capacity to rise by several feet. And that in turn is the retention, stormwater retention for a lot of the impervious surface that was developed at Bull Street. So it's a very multifunctional water feature itself there. And Henry's shown a great photo here of the walking path. What we have found so far is that mothers really enjoy this walking path because it is stroller friendly. So they can have the little ones that can walk with them walk, but as well as being able to use the stroller. I've been out there many mornings when I see 5 or 6 strollers making the round out there. So it's already being well used by the mothers in the area on that. And like I said, as Henry has said, this is a very large park. It's basically 20 acres. And that attributes to the ability to stack stormwater back at this area and help on the flooding of downstream. So very pleased with it so far. The earlier photograph there, it showed a little area view of the dog park. The park seems to be getting pretty good use right now too. And so it went well with the design of the park. And like I say, again, kudos to Hughes Development for donating the land for this, as well as really spearheading the design to make sure all of these features are in there.
Thank you so much, Gregory. And so as you can see, major outdoor rental amenities. We can do weddings, family gatherings. I mean, there's enough green space for a lot to be done at this particular park. And this kind of gives you an idea of what it looked like in the spring. And here is what Gregory was referencing, the dog park. There's a very nice dog park that's already in place there as well. So even with the senior living facility that's next door, I think the last time I spoke with someone over there, Gregory, I think they have 40 occupants in that facility now. So across the street, we have a assisted living facility that, some of them could come out and enjoy the park as well.
I'll even say residents of the townhomes, which are just up the hill from that, are also utilizing the park. Yeah.
Do you want to speak to any of these photos as well, Gregory?
Oh, yes, I could. I'll start in the upper left-hand corner. That is one of the shelters out in the site. And what you see in the foreground is I'm going to call it almost a settling pool or a pool within. And at the front end of that, it actually is designed to create water noise. It's a slight elevation drop there, but it also is sort of a little settling spot. We have many of those along the length of the creek itself. And then, like say, if you're standing in that shelter, you get the great trickling sound of water nearby on that. The top middle photo there is actually the weir structure. And you see the original 84-inch pipes there. And so actually the pipe designation, you see half of it on the right side of that picture. That is actually where the water goes in for the daylighted stream itself. And it's not really apparent, but there's actually a half moon or a half curve wall in front of the two 84-inch pipes. So it's like I said, when the water level rises, it goes over this weir, and then the water is stored or allowed to do a controlled release through the 84-inch pipes there. Again, the picture on the right upper corner, that's again just a better view of the shelter there, and also the other down in the middle on the bottom is a good example. This was early on in the plantings of very select species, native species of plants to go along the stream through there. The area between, you can sort of see the green tubular devices. They keep sediments from washing into the stream there. But that area now, as he goes through the pictures, those are the ones that flashed the yellow wildflowers and things like that. It's a riparian planting seed mix that has been put in there. And that is sort of the designated area of the, what I'll say, a natural Midland stream that would be there. And again, that's the area over 20 years that will evolve into a mature stream for out there. The bottom right photograph actually gives a little view over to where Merrill Gardens is, a senior housing project there from, again, another one of the little pools that are located along the stream that creates the water noise. And again, a good aerial view there of, they created the park with some great open lawn areas as well as the shaded areas. Extensive work was done to go in and evaluate all of the trees out there. As many trees as possible were saved, and beyond just saving the trees, a tremendous effort was done to go in and improve the health of the existing trees. They spent about almost a month in there with a registered arborist and a company to actually do selective pruning. And so the health of the trees has really bounced back over the last 2 years of the construction of the park.
Looks great. And I want to recognize Randy Davis and our Parks and Rec staff. We were, the park was actually turned over to Parks and Recreation on August 30th. So we've been maintaining it from the contractor since that point. So they've been doing a great job with maintaining the grounds and keeping it clean. So I appreciate the work that's being done from them as well. This is another good picture of the actual dog park as well. It's a very large dog park that we have in place, so that'll be plenty of room for our citizens to enjoy that. Staffing wise, we're looking at 4 full-time park rangers to be assigned to this park, and also up to 7 crew members from the Northern District to assist with maintaining the park grounds and rotating schedule, which we're already doing that as we speak. And someone had a question?
Henry, yes. Go back. Henry, if you would go back to that, this part here. Yeah. I think Greg said talk to me a little bit about the pipes, the existing pipes that are there. Are you putting new pipes in for that pond on the far side of the park?
No, so Henry, if you would, just a little to the left of that, I call it the Kodak moment right there. That is the, Councilman McDowell, that is where the actual existing pipes started and are still there, and basically go straight down the screen from there, and they're underground in that area.
Okay, all right. So they aren't new, these are existing pipes. They're in pretty good shape.
And sometime in the 70s, the Department of Mental Health actually, it was a creek. They actually went in and put the storm drain piping in there and then covered it over. I think it was around 74, somewhere around in that time frame. And again, as opposed to the expense and of tearing them all out, they actually provide a great benefit of floodwater storage or stormwater storage. So we saw no reason to take them out, since we could actually utilize them and improve the quality, improve flooding conditions downstream.
So Greg, we wouldn't have a problem then with the pond overflowing because of the storage part, the storage piece, right?
You're 100% correct. As a matter of fact, like I say, the pond, when it reaches a level that it needs to relieve some water out of it, it actually goes, there's another underground pipe connecting to the 84-inch pipes that's where the water goes out.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir. Henry?
So to give you an idea, you're welcome. Yes, sir. To give you an idea of where we are, we got our 20-acre public park here that we're discussing. And I mean, really, this is the cornerstone of the development on this property. We're looking at the signage as we begin to discuss naming the park. We're going to have signage here where the stars are near Colonial Drive and Greg Street. And then we're also going to have some sign. We're actually going to put signage here in the middle of the park as well. That's not highlighted, but we're also going to put some signage there. And then to the right where Calhoun meets Greg Street as well. So we'll have traditional City of Columbia signage designated for the parks. But as you can see, this development is just been going very well. And again, contributing to the leadership and project management of Gregory Tucker. I think this has been very nicely done. And park sits really at the corner of the property, which I think gives us a great look in terms of all the development that's taking place on the property.
So Henry, if you would go back for right here. You've got signage on Calhoun Street and Colonial, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have Calhoun here, Calhoun and Greg Street. Greg Street is the street that runs between the senior living facility and the park. That back street, that's Greg Street.
And that come back, it's towards Colonial Drive.
That's correct. Goes to Colonial and then also goes to Calhoun on the other side as well.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman McDowell, there are also, I don't know if you've noticed, the second wave of wayfinding signage by Experience Columbia put out. We actually now have a sign there on Bull Street, right down there near the Starbucks, with an arrow pointing down Freed Street, that is there, towards the park. At the time, obviously, there wasn't a name needed. There wasn't a name at the time when it was needed. So it's currently called Bull Street Park on the signage, but there is even signage on Bull Street for it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that was I seen the other two designated places, but I didn't see anything on Bull Street, and I see it now. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. And then future plans, Councilman Duval. First on the list, we're looking to place a pickleball court at this location. We think that'll fit nicely with our senior living facility.
Put it over there where Howard lives.
That's right. We're gonna have major tournaments out there. Where you gonna put it?
Put it over there where Howard lives, over by the apartment.
We're exploring several options. It'll be somewhere in our green space. We got a lot of open space right now, and we're exploring several options of where that could potentially be, along with a playground, along with some slides on the hillside as well, some sand volleyball course, outdoor exercise equipment, and some additional park furnishing is what we have planned for the most immediate future. So we're very excited about adding those amenities to the park to kind of help activate the park as well.
And Henry, if I could, I'll pop in here. Councilman Duval, we have great parking over there, so feel free to drive over to our parking. And I did want to mention, we've instituted the first little spot, the parking on the lower end of Greg Street closest to Colonial. We've actually got it's reverse angled parking. And the purpose for the reverse angled parking is actually for mothers with children. Obviously, when you pull in, doors open, kids want to run out and get into the park and do things like that. So it's designed for you to actually pull forward and back into your angled spot. So the rear of the vehicle, generally where people are unloading picnics and toys and things like that, will be on the protected side away from the road. So you'll be on a sidewalk right there. So it's the first spot that I'm aware of in the city where we're actually doing the reversed angled parking. And again, it's for the safety for the mothers and the children that would come to visit the park. And again, we have great adequate parking already beside the park in there.
Gregory, can you get Henry to maneuver that arrow down to where the parking garage is going on near West Lawn?
Yes, it would be where West Lawn is written there, right? The West Lawn building right there.
Okay, it's going to be on front of the building then.
Well, it'll be on the backside, it'll front on Sable Street and Matilda Evans. I apologize, I forgot the name there for a second, but it's basically that corner right there.
Okay.
And then the other public garage will be basically where that it says Historic Williams Building, but basically where the word historic is, it'll be there going, which would actually be east going up the drawing.
Across Free Street or on?
Yeah, across Freed Street.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I
Yeah,
can't
right
see.
where his arrow is right now.
Yeah, I see it now. All right, thank you.
All right, so we wanted to give you all just a quick overview of where we were in terms of the park, in terms of the amenities, and just really, let you know that this is very instrumental to the Bull Street property. So this is what you're naming, and we want to kind of give you some details of where we are. Ms. Wilson, do you have any additional comments?
No, I know, Mr. Chair, that I don't think Mayor Benjamin was able to jump on. He's been on several of these different Zooms today, but in between one, he had just suggested that, and which was asking for clarification today about, the direction you all were going to go. And so I told him that our purpose today was for Henry and Gregory to really give you an overview of the park as we have transitioned to us owning it and really taking care of it and maintaining it. And of course, the naming piece, it really falls within you all's, decision-making as the policymakers to follow the process that I think was shared with you again in preparation for this meeting. And we can certainly offer any guidance you need in that regard, but we really just wanted you to have the context of the park itself to help you with that. I do think the mayor, mentioned that the Hughes were certainly supportive of whatever you all decide and hopeful that the name would in some way, have some relation to the park. And that's really all we have as far as guidance. I think that I know Henry had talked to Dr. Donaldson, just based off some of the other conversations that you all mentioned coming into this meeting with your other colleagues, that if there's any historical perspective of individuals who've had some relation to the park or the area and the surrounding communities, that he could be helpful with that if we need him to be. But I told Henry, I didn't think we needed him today per se, but just based off your conversations today and the directions that you go, if you all need us to get him involved, we can definitely do that.
And who was that you're talking about?
Dr. Donaldson, just because of his, all of his, he's such a wealth of knowledge and history and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
That's the thing that I was kind of concerned about, is having Dr. Donaldson to sort of enter in and inject his piece into this whole conversation. As you know, he is, gee whiz, he's one of the guys that knows this city better than anybody, especially in its historical context. I guess my position right now was because we need to have a conversation with him before we do, I think, anything in terms of renaming the park. So I agree with you, Ms. Wilson.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I agree with you too. I think that the will of the council expressed a few weeks ago when we got into this assignment was that if we could find an African American that had some input into the Bull Street property, maybe the first medical doctor that was an African American that served on the property, or maybe a person that was in charge of the mental health commission that was an African American that would tie it into Bull Street's original mission for 100 and something years. I think that would be good. I think if we could also, if we didn't want to use a name, we could name it after something to do with mental health. Maybe something like the Healing Park at Bull Street, because this is going to be a different type of park for us. It's not going to be jungle gyms and football fields and all that. This is going to be a relaxing park where you can go with your kids, where you can enjoy nature, where you can take a walk, where the mothers and their babies can stroll around a nice leisure park. So maybe something like that. And I would like to suggest that as our policy asks us to do, we do something like the Fireflies did when they picked the name Fireflies. Let's give it to the Hughes Group to sponsor a naming thing that would not tie our hands, but it would also get the public involved in suggesting names for this park. And I think the Hughes Development Group would be delighted to handle that for us, and maybe some sort of award to a winner. And then those names come back to the committee and to the council for a look-see to see if it comes up with something. Certainly, I think Bobby Donaldson would be a great resource to come up with people that are tied into Bull Street. He probably knows 4 or 5 off the top of his head that would be honored by the naming of this park.
Howard, based on everything you've said, I suggest we name it the Healing Springs.
Well, we can't. Well, I don't think we ought to do that today. We got to go out to the public first.
The thing that I sort of envision is that we get some conversation. As you know, Bobby Donaldson is gee whiz, he knows the history of this piece of property.
Yeah.
And of course he knows physicians and he knows the history of some of those folk. Gee whiz, it would certainly be good, whether it's the Healing Springs or the Healing Village. I think we don't need to make that conversation today. I think we could have a conversation with Dr. Donaldson, and he could really point us in a direction where there are some significant persons who worked at Bull Street, on Bull Street. Sam?
The Healing just came out, but it's more significant than that. You know, when I was at Benedict and undergrad, Bull Street was a source of it was a source of employment for a lot of students at Benedict and Allen. And I used to listen to some of the stories those guys would tell about clients and on their shift and that sort of thing. So that there is some history there. And I think that's a good idea to kind of go to some known authorities or people who may have some background. And in later years too, I think if y'all recall, when we were approaching the decision about the contracts and all that with the Hughes family, the Mental Health Association sort of weighed in on the future of the park and the resources that would be generated from the sale of it and that sort of thing. So I think there are a number of people out there that probably can give some input, and Donaldson can kind of, wade through that and see what makes sense.
Well, why don't we go in 2 directions here? Get in contact with Dr. Donaldson for his input from a historic point of view, but also I think it's important that we at least put this out to the public, to
Oh,
ask the public
absolutely,
for things.
absolutely.
Give that part of it to the Hughes Development Group so that they can do something like the naming of the Fireflies. If you remember, the team asked the public to come up with names and reasons for a particular name, and then they picked the one they liked. So in this case, we would listen to Dr. Donaldson. We would listen to what the Hughes Group comes out from a public PR type of thing. Give us your name, and we would then have two or three selections to go through. The committee could go through them and then make a suggestion to the council.
Yeah, that would be ideal, because like you said, we did it when we did the Fireflies, naming of the Fireflies. Right now, I think it's critically important for us to have that conversation with Dr. Donaldson. And
Right.
we just don't want to do it individual. We want this to be a collaborative kind of conversation with persons who will hear some of the suggestions of what that name might be. As you know, I would venture to say 70% of the employees on Bull Street were African American.
Yeah.
And probably more, actually. So we need to get a balance, and we need to understand that this balance will sort of represent inclusivity, and it be something that everybody can say yay to. So yes, I think our first move, of course, is to have that conversation with Dr. Donaldson.
Do you want to do that simultaneously with a public campaign to ask for public input, or do you want to do Donaldson first and then the public?
I think we do Donaldson first. And what you all think?
That's fine with me. I think at
I'm
some
okay
point we got to go public.
Yeah.
Maybe
No,
based
we're not going to shroud this thing under. We're not going to do that. We want to make sure everybody has some say to it. Now, we don't want Auntie Boo Boo and Uncle Bobby and Uncle Bubba to put their name in.
Hey, you'd be surprised. Sometimes Boo Boo knows.
The policy says they got to be dead, though.
They got to be dead, man.
Well, I think to your, I'm sorry, Henry. I was going to, go ahead.
Wait, Ms. Wilson, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I really like everything that you all are saying. And I think to your point about, not getting just everything, it could be helpful that Dr. Donaldson kind of helps weigh in on what some of the potential is with the history and the context and the theme. I really like the idea of the healing and all that, so that even when you put it out to the public, you maybe already have some parameters around it as far as you want it to reflect those things. So whether it involves individuals who are now deceased, to your point, Mr. Duvall, that's right, but that had a historical connection to the property or to the Department of Mental Health or the various individuals who were employed there, and or he can probably also give you some feedback on some different themes like healing or whatever else reflects what went on at the property, and then put it out to the public, because everybody in the public, including all of us, probably wouldn't maybe know like he does maybe some of the more appropriate themes and individuals who had a connection to the property. So
Right.
I think we could put it out to the public with some context, so you don't just get
Yeah.
much.
Got to be connected with the
And
mission.
that would be a method to what we're doing and what we're trying to do. Yeah.
And I really I love the ideas that you all are saying. I love that.
So is it clear to excuse me, is it clear to each of us then that we be in conversation with Dr. Donaldson?
Yes.
And can we do that first? And
We
sort
can do
of,
that soon too.
yeah, if we could do that, sort of get some input from him, and then we move to the levels that we need to address, public input,
When,
identify what that theme is, what the name of that park is, what's the name of the park is, identifying that, and then go into public input.
Yeah, I'd like to request that the Hughes Development Group be invited to our next meeting with Bobby Donaldson, because they have a big stake in how this thing is named, and so
Well-
let's invite them and Bobby to our
Yeah.
next meeting and listen to Bobby and maybe get input for Hughes and Bobby.
That
Okay.
sounds good.
That's-
Henry, I'm sorry I cut you off.
Now, I was just going to add as a recommendation, if we wanted to add Robin Waits with Historic Columbia, she and Dr. Donaldson work hand in hand. So it would be a good asset for some dialogue if we feel like we needed to go that way.
All right.
That's good.
Can we add those persons? Does everybody feel comfortable with the addition, the Hughes Company and Robin Waits,
And Bobby.
Dr. Bobby Donaldson?
Yeah.
If we could just include them, and we have some conversation with Dr. Donaldson, and we sort of filter through everything that we've heard with conversation from these other additional persons. Yes, if that's what we need to do, I think that's the best thing to do right now.
Yes, sir.
Teresa, are you going to follow up with Bobby, or do you want one of us to do it?
No, sir. Henry will. He's already, I think,
Yeah.
kind of laid that foundation with him anyway. We just held off on bringing him to this first initial
Okay.
session to allow y'all to tell us how you want it to go. But we kind of anticipated needing him, so I think Henry
Okay.
has already mentioned it to him. And
you
maybe Henry, he can do some, preliminary work and bring that back to the next committee meeting, and we'll also invite Robin and Bob and Robert or whoever they designate from Hughes Development.
Okay,
Sounds good.
sounds good. Henry,
Y'all are
sound-
so efficient today. I'm just so proud of you all the time, gentlemen on council and Henry,
That's
You
your luck there.
look,
getting it done.
Ms. Wilson, Merry Christmas to you too.
Thank you for my Christmas gift today.
Look, I think we got a pathway.
Yes,
And
sir.
what I will do is get with Erica to see. It's going to probably be the 1st of January, somewhere thereabout.
Yeah, probably.
Yes,
So
sir.
I'll get some dates out with Erica as soon as we get off this call to see whether or not you're comfortable with any of the dates she has, and we can make this thing happen.
I love it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, Henry, I
Sure.
Sounds
appreciate,
good.
Yes,
Henry, I
sir.
appreciate
Merry
you.
Christmas.
Yes,
Merry
sir.
Christmas to
Christmas,
each
y'all.
of you. All right, you all take care.
You too. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.